Hey there guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you all are doing good today. In this video I wanted to talk about this trend that's happening mostly in America, but I feel like it's going to come to here, so I kind of I wanted to make a video to put it out there and to basically explain what the trend is. And if it happens to be as popular over here as it is in America, then there's someone saying the facts and their life experience so they can watch it. So here I am. So in America, there is this trend that in the typical far right, not all of them, but the typical far right people who believe in all of the far right stereotypes are very pushy when it comes to protecting kids when they don't actually look at their own community. Like if you look back in the past and even the present of today, um, they're obsessed with beauty pageants. They're obsessed with making um what's it called arranged marriages when they're not legal yet to be legal. And you know, a lot of them are religious, and a lot of the churches are known to have sexual misconduct with their kids and pupils. So the fact that that community, like I say, not all, but the strict stereotypes tend to be the ones that start brainwashing our kids with all of the things like showing that gay people, trans people, bi people exist is very hypocritical. And I want to explain the difference between just showing us existing naturally and normally in society and then actually being brainwashed. So, believe it or not, I think that the typical right, far right, actually has some good points when it comes to what's happening in the typical left, like the toxicity when it comes to it, but they don't explain the reasons why, and they just go to their traditional doctrine that was once racist and homophobic, and then it just turns normal people off. When I actually think if they were to do a deep dive and explain, I'm not saying that all gay people are like this, in fact, most of them aren't, but X, Y, Z, and all of these reasons, then a lot more people would listen. But because they just, like, overall, from what I've seen in videos, clips, and kind of like online forums, they just they don't they don't like that middle ground. It's either you're a strict left wing or you're with me, which is a strict right wing. And like I say, for someone who is moderate like me, I have a problem with it because I am gay and, you know, I'm relatively normal. And I want to be in society, but at the same time, I don't want to be seen as the same as like a pedophile or or an abuser to alcohol. But at the same time, I don't want to be praised more than like a straight person. I just literally want to exist in the society as equals. So the thing that I agree with when it comes to the far right is that they do amplify a lot of the crazy, far typical left wingers who basically do indoctrinate people with all of the different genders and pronouns and all of the different um, words that used to mean something but now they create something else, and even to go so far as to sometimes be sexual with the kids but then act like it's normal. And obviously most people would be like, what the fuck, like that's crazy. But what they do, instead of saying these people are not like normal gay, bi, trans individuals, they are claiming to be a part of them, but they are not. They are just praising themselves, and they're looking for a way to basically escape and not take accountability. But they don't do that, and it turns people off. Overall, my stance with politics, I've mentioned before, is like an old school libertarian mindset, even though I don't know all of the rules, all from what I've heard from other YouTubers that I like, who say that they are, and they explain what the values is. I very much agree with it, and it's very like of my personality anyway, so I was like, wow, I guess I'm like that then. The pendulum is always swinging between the two extremes, where the typical left idolizes being a different sexuality or a different gender, and then obviously the far right extreme, especially back in the day, like even 10 years ago, it was popular and it was not heard of for gays, bis, and trans to be beat up on a regular. So to me, there just needs to be a healthy middle ground where we don't beat up the people, but then we don't idolize them. But because they are the extremes, they see people who aren't the two extremes as extreme or the weirdos. So then obviously they go after them. And obviously that is very much me, so I don't agree with that. So I have personally seen YouTube videos and articles where there are these really stupid people who claim to be in the LGBT community, but really they just use it to come up with new terms like maps, xenophobes, and just people who create different names to make it sound like it's not a big deal. And these people are people who are pedophiles, like having sex with animals and like having sex with the dead. Like, they've all come up with different names. I mentioned them in my other YouTube channel, like in another YouTube video, so I can't remember the names now. My brain's having a bit of a fart, but I mentioned them in them videos. So if you go and look for that, then then it will state the names. So obviously I very much disagree with that. And then people, as far as I'm concerned, and I think when you actually bring people out of the community to one side and there's no reason for them to feel shy, like they're going to get called transphobic or homophobic, they will say the same thing. You know, I've had conversations before when they've said that. But then, like I say, it's hard to then hear the other side when we are called either pedophiles for just being gay or being the same as like a alcohol addiction person. So mostly the reason why I'm making this video is that I wanted to voice what I've just said, that both parties do practice a lot of the same toxic messages, but the one difference is that the new school lefties weren't like that to begin with, but the typical right was. They were the ones who would rape kids and make some religious excuse that's from the Bible that would excuse their actions. It's very known in the Catholic community. And also, there would be... There's like documentaries that I've watched on YouTube where there was actually a phase in the early 1920s and 30s, I think it was, where there was this studio that wanted to create a bunch of silent films and some not silent films, but they didn't have a lot of talking in them, where they would actually play a gay couple or a bisexual person or a trans person in a good light. But the religious community at that time were having none of it, and they actually made a complaint altogether to the point where they said it either can't happen, or if it does happen, they have to be seen as the bad guy, some kind of devil instance, or like they could change. Like I say, because I am the moderate one, I can see the negative attributes from both sides, and equally, in different ways, they both get on my nerves. And for the most part, I can see through what they're trying to actually advocate for, and it's something that I'm personally not into. So, for example, the far right, because we live in a time where being homophobic and transphobic and biphobic and racist and sexist is seen as a bad thing, because we have moved into more of a feminine way of living, because that's seen as a bad thing, they will dodge answering things in a way that they would have answered if they were living 50 years ago, because back then it was popular to be all of them bad names. But now, because it's not, they will dodge answering questions in a way that means that you're definitely this bad thing when they still are. But they are good at, like, answering questions that are sort of what you're looking for, but then also not what you're looking for. But then the left, the typical left, is now known to be very much like the right wing, but instead of saying these people are sinners and they need Jesus or whatever, or they're seen as bad people, they actually say, we're going to call everyone out this big thing because we're looking for the rights of these said. My want and wish for anyone who happens to hear this, even if it's only one person, can just make a difference. I want anyone to understand that there is hypocrisy within both of the typical left wing and the right wing ideology, but not 100% when it comes to old school libertarian, because that was more the original middle ground person. But people who are more on the right, or believe that just being gay or being trans or being bi is the same as being a sexual a sexual being when it comes to kids, and wanting that for kids, then you need to really look at your past, look at your politicians' past, and actually recognise that it was actually the exact opposite. That you were the first ones that were advocating for child sexualness with adults. I know that this was a bit of a long rant and I mentioned different things, so in case anyone's a bit confused, my kind of analysis with this video is basically stop blaming one community or one side of the political spectrum as they are all this negative thing and we're not going to mention anything that our side has done. You know, you should look into what your political people did in the past and realise that they did the exact same thing. So stop blaming all people who identify as libertarians and lefts as perverts and pedophiles, and look at what your community's done. But then at the same time, the left, stop saying that all the right people are bigoted and homophobic and transphobic to the point where they wouldn't be friends with you, because it's not true. They might have that traditional mindset that is racist, transphobic and homophobic to a certain degree, but a lot of them that I've met will still be friends with you and will still talk to you and give you respect. So stop, basically, anyone who's watching this, stop saying this is 100% this way, this is 100% that way, and people must fall on either side. Just stop, because that is actually harmful for this society. Right. I hope that you and guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like and subscribe down below. My socials will be down below, my Twitters and my second YouTube channel where I react and review different albums that I like, and then I say my favorites, my least favorites, and then I say this kind of person who likes this genre would like this. And I love you guys.